Alright. Hold on. Before you grab your pitchforks and flood the comment section, let's get one thing straight. Stray Kids is one of the biggest names in K-pop right now, no debate, no contest, no questions asked. With their self-produced discography, genre-bending beats, and a fanbase called Stay that could literally shake the internet in seconds, they're a force of nature. But here's the thing that most people don't want to talk about. Not everybody vibes with their music, and guess what? Some of those people are actually fellow K-pop idols themselves. Yeah, you heard that right. We're not talking about random haters on Twitter, we're talking about actual idols who, whether on variety shows, live broadcasts, or behind-the-scenes moments, have shown reactions that pretty much screamed, "This is not my cup of tea." Now, does that mean they hate Stray Kids? Absolutely not. Music taste is subjective, and honestly, their honesty makes this list even more fascinating. So here's the real question. Which idol literally made a face when a Stray Kids song came on during a game show? Who straight up said they couldn't handle the intensity? And which unexpected name from a top-tier group admitted they'd skip a Stray Kids track on their playlist? Is it someone from a rival fourth-gen group? A senior idol from the legendary second generation? Or maybe someone you'd never expect? Trust me, some of these names are gonna make your jaw drop, and the stories behind their reactions? Even wilder. So buckle up, stay and non-stay alike, because this list isn't about hate, it's about honesty, music taste, and some of the most hilariously real moments in K-pop history. Let's get into it. This is the top 7 K-pop idols who openly dislike Stray Kids songs. Number 7. Chongsub, BTOB, the vocal purist who just couldn't fake it. Okay, so let's kick things off at number 7, and honestly, this one sets the perfect tone for this entire list because it's not about drama, it's not about beef, it's about a man who has built his entire career on one thing and one thing only: vocals. Raw vocals, the kind of vocals that make you close your eyes and feel every single syllable deep in your chest. We're talking about none other than Lee Chongsub from BTOB, one of the most brutally honest, hilariously unfiltered, and ridiculously talented vocalists in the entire history of K-pop. And if you know anything about this man, you already know that he does not hold back when it comes to his opinions about music. Now, before we get into what happened, let's set the stage here because you really need to understand who Chongsub is and what BTOB represents in the K-pop ecosystem to fully grasp why this moment was so iconic. BTOB, which stands for Born to Beat, debuted under Cube Entertainment back in 2012, and while they started out with a more upbeat, hip-hop-influenced sound, they eventually found their true identity in emotional ballads and vocal-driven masterpieces. We're talking about songs like Missing You, Beautiful Pain, and It's Okay, tracks that don't rely on heavy production, aggressive beats, or experimental sound design. No, BTOB's music lives and dies by the power of the human voice, and Chongsub, alongside members like Jungkook and Hyunsik, became the living embodiment of that philosophy. This man can sing a ballad that'll make a grown adult cry in a coffee shop at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, and he's proud of it. He's the kind of singer who believes that if the vocal can't carry the song on its own, then the song has a fundamental problem. That's his musical DNA, that's his artistic identity, and he has never been shy about expressing it. Now here's where Stray Kids enters the picture, and you have to appreciate the sheer contrast here because we're talking about two groups that exist on completely opposite ends of the K-pop musical spectrum. Stray Kids, led by the production genius trio of 3 Racha, Bangchan, Changbin, and Han, are known for their aggressive, bass-heavy, experimental, genre-defying sound that borrows from EDM, trap, rock, and sometimes even industrial noise music. Tracks like God's Menu, Thunderous, Maniac, and S-Class are sonic assaults in the best possible way. They hit you like a freight train. They're layered with distortion, synths, and production elements that are designed to overwhelm your senses. And that's exactly the point. Stray Kids has never tried to be subtle. Their music is loud, proud, and unapologetically intense, and that's precisely why Stay loves them. But here's the thing, that exact quality, that intensity, that wall of sound production style, that's kryptonite for someone like Chongsub. So the moment that really put this on everyone's radar happened during a variety show segment. One of those classic Korean entertainment setups where idols from different groups are thrown together, games are played, and music is used as part of challenges. You know the format, right? They play a snippet of a song, and the idols have to react, guess the title, dance along, or do something entertaining. It's usually lighthearted, it's fun, and most idols just go with the flow regardless of whether they actually like the song or not. But Changsub? This man is physically incapable of faking a reaction. When a snippet of a Stray Kids song started playing, and multiple fans who watched the broadcast identified it as a section from God's Menu, with that iconic DDU cooking beat, Changsub's face went through about 7 different emotions in the span of 3 seconds, and none of them were positive. He didn't say anything mean, he didn't trash talk, he didn't disrespect the group. Let's be absolutely clear about that. But his expression? His body language? The way he slightly leaned back, squinted his eyes, and then let out this little laugh while shaking his head? That told the entire story without a single word being spoken. It was the universal face of, I respect that this exists, but this is definitely not for me. And the internet, as the internet does, caught it immediately. Clips of that reaction spread across Twitter, TikTok, and Korean community forums like Thiku and Pan faster than you can say, noise music debate. Some Stay fans were initially upset, but honestly, the majority of people, including many Stays themselves, found it absolutely hilarious because it was just so Changsub. This is the same man who once said on a radio show that he doesn't understand why modern K-pop songs need so many electronic effects when the human voice is the most beautiful instrument ever created. He's been consistent about this for over a decade. He's not singling out Stray Kids. He's expressed similar sentiments about the general direction of fourth-generation K-pop music as a whole. But because Stray Kids is arguably the poster child for that experimental, production-heavy sound, they naturally become the most visible example of everything Changsub's musical philosophy stands against. And here's what makes this even more interesting. Changsub has actually acknowledged this himself in a later V-Live broadcast. A fan asked him directly about the variety show moment, and instead of dodging the question or giving some diplomatic non-answer, he leaned into the camera with that classic Changsub grin and said something along the lines of, "Every generation has its own color, and I have tremendous respect for groups that produce their own music because that takes real talent. But my ears? My ears were trained on different frequencies. And honestly, that's one of the most respectful and real answers any idol has ever given about this topic." He's not hating, he's not jealous, he's not being petty, he's simply acknowledging that his musical taste and his artistic sensibilities were shaped by a completely different era and a completely different approach to music making. BTOB grew up on R&B, on soul music, on vocal harmonies that trace back to groups like Boyz II Men and artists like Shin Sung-han. Stray Kids grew up on Skrillex, on trap beats, on the kind of digital production that would make a traditionalist vocalist's head spin. Neither approach is wrong, neither is superior, they're just fundamentally different languages of music. But here's the deeper layer that most people miss when they talk about this moment, and this is where the edutainment really kicks in. The noise music debate in K-pop isn't new. It's been raging since at least 2019, when fourth-generation groups started really pushing the boundaries of what K-pop could sound like. Groups like Stray Kids, ATEEZ, and others were accused by older fans and even some industry insiders of making music that was too noisy, too aggressive, and not musical enough. But here's the irony, those same criticisms were leveled at top seniors too. When Seo Taiji and Boys debuted in 1992 and brought hip-hop and electronic music to the Korean mainstream, traditionalists said it wasn't real music. When HOT and Sex Kiss were dominating the late 90s, older generations called their music noise. Every single generation of K-pop has faced the exact same criticism from the generation before it, and Changsub, whether he realizes it or not, is simply continuing that cycle. It doesn't make him wrong, and it doesn't make Stray Kids wrong either. It just makes them products of their respective musical eras. So at number 7, we have Changsub from BTOB, not a hater, not an anti, but a vocal purist whose honest reaction became one of the most relatable and meme-worthy moments in recent K-pop history. A man who loves his ballads, respects the hustle, but simply cannot pretend that heavy bass drops and distorted synths are his thing. And you know what? That honesty is exactly why fans of all groups respect him. But yo, if you think Changsub's reaction was something, just wait until you hear what the idol at number 6 did, because this one didn't just make a face. This one actually said something out loud, on camera, that had fans absolutely losing it. Was it a playful jab? A genuine critique? Or something even more unexpected? Stay locked in, because this list is just getting started. Number 6. Mayan I-DLE, the soft melody princess who couldn't handle the chaos. Alright, moving on to number 6, and this one is fascinating because we're shifting from a veteran male vocalist to one of the most elegant, graceful, and vocally pristine female idols in the 4th generation, Cho Mayan from I-DLE. The woman whose voice sounds like honey dripping over silk on a Sunday morning, and whose reaction to Stray Kids music became one of those blink and you'll miss it moments that the internet absolutely refused to let go. Now, if you're not familiar with Mayan, let me paint the picture real quick. She's the main vocalist of I-DLE, one of the most successful girl groups in K-pop right now, known for hits like Tomboy, Queen Card, and Super Lady. But here's the thing about Mayan specifically. While I-DLE as a group has experimented with bold, edgy concepts thanks to leader and producer Soyeon, Mayan herself has always been the member who gravitates towards softer, more melodic, more traditionally beautiful music. She's talked about this multiple times on fan platforms and variety shows. Her personal playlist is filled with ballads, acoustic tracks, and sweet R&B, the kind of music that feels like a warm hug, not a punch in the face. And she's been very open about the fact that she sometimes struggles with songs that are too aggressive or too sonically overwhelming, even within her own group's discography. So when a moment happened during a joint idol event, one of those year-end festival backstage situations where multiple groups are gathered and music is playing through the speakers, fans caught something that sent the internet into overdrive. According to multiple fan accounts and fan cams that circulated on Korean platforms, a Stray Kids track started blasting through the backstage speakers. Fans identified it as thunderous. That absolute beast of a song with its traditional Korean instrument fusion and aggressive rap delivery, and Mayan's reaction was immediate and completely involuntary. She visibly flinched, brought her hands up near her ears, and turned to fellow member Minnie with this expression that can only be described as, "Why is the music attacking me right now?" It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't performative, it was a genuine, instinctive reaction from someone whose ears are calibrated for soft melodies suddenly getting hit with the sonic equivalent of a thunderstorm. And Minnie, bless her heart, apparently just laughed and patted Mayan on the shoulder like, "Yeah, I know, just write it out." The clip went semi-viral on Twitter and Weverse communities, with stays and neverlands. That's I-DLE's fandom, going back and forth in the most wholesome way possible. Most stays were like, "Honestly, fair enough, thunderous hits different if you're not ready for it." And neverlands were like, "That's just Mayan being Mayan. She flinches at loud noises in general." And both sides were absolutely right. What makes this moment so interesting from a music analysis perspective is that it highlights something really important about Stray Kids' production style. Their music is literally designed to provoke a physical reaction. Bang Chan and 3 Racha have talked about this in multiple interviews. They want their songs to hit you in the chest, to make you feel something visceral and immediate. Thunderous specifically was engineered with sharp dynamic contrasts, moments of relative quiet followed by explosive drops that are meant to catch you off guard. It's brilliant production, but it's also the exact kind of sonic architecture that would make someone like Mayan instinctively recoil. It's not about quality, it's about sensory preference. Some people love roller coasters, some people prefer a calm boat ride. Neither is wrong, they're just wired differently. And Mayan is clearly wired for the boat ride. The beautiful irony here is that I-DLE and Stray Kids are actually label neighbors in the broader K-pop ecosystem and have shown mutual respect at multiple award shows. Soyeon, I-DLE's producer, has actually praised 3 Racha's production skills in interviews, acknowledging that self-producing groups share a special bond regardless of musical style. So there's zero actual animosity here, Just one very delicate pair of ears and one very aggressive song, creating a moment of pure, unfiltered comedy. So at number 6, Mayan from I-DLE, the soft melody princess whose ears simply weren't built for the Stray Kids experience. Adorable, honest, and completely relatable for anyone who's ever accidentally played a Stray Kids song on full volume with earbuds in. But hold up, number 5 is where things get really interesting, because the next idol on this list didn't just react physically. This person actually engaged in a full-on music taste debate that had fans picking sides for weeks. Who is it? You're gonna want to hear this one. Number 5. Wooyoung ATEEZ, the friendly rival who said it out loud. Now this is where the list starts getting spicy, because at number 5 we have someone who isn't just from the same generation as Stray Kids, he's from a group that has been directly compared to them since literally day one. We're talking about young Wooyoung from ATEEZ, one of the most charismatic, loud, and unapologetically expressive performers in all of 4th gen K-pop, and a man whose mouth moves faster than his brain can filter, and honestly, that's exactly why fans love him. Now let me give you the context here because it's absolutely crucial. ATEEZ and Stray Kids occupy a very unique space in K-pop. Both groups debuted in 2018 under mid-tier companies, Stray Kids under JYP Entertainment and ATEEZ under KQ Entertainment. Both groups are known for their high-energy performances, both have massive international fan bases, and both have been labeled as the performance kings of the 4th generation. Naturally, this has created one of the most intense yet weirdly respectful rivalries in modern K-pop history. ATEEZ and SHINee have gone back and forth on social media more times than anyone can count, but the members themselves? They've generally maintained a very cordial, professional relationship. Keyword, generally. Because Wooyoung, bless his unfiltered soul, had a moment during a live broadcast that cracked the entire internet wide open. It happened during AV Live, or was it a Weverse Live? The timeline gets a little blurry because fans have reposted this clip so many times across so many platforms, where Wooyoung was casually chatting with fans, just vibing, eating snacks, being his usual chaotic self. And someone in the chat, as fans always do, started requesting songs for him to listen to. Now Wooyoung is the kind of idol who actually engages with these requests. He'll pull up songs, play a few seconds, give his honest reaction, and move on. It's entertaining, it's interactive, it's exactly the kind of content that makes live broadcasts fun. So naturally, someone dropped a Stray Kids song request in the chat. Multiple fans confirmed it was God's Menu. And Wooyoung, this absolute madman, actually pulled it up on his phone. He played about 15 seconds of it, nodded his head slightly like he was trying to give it a fair chance, and then said something that roughly translates to, the production is really intense. It's impressive, but honestly the style, if I listen to it too long, my head starts hurting a little. And then he laughed. He laughed. Not in a mocking way, not in a disrespectful way, but in that very Wooyoung way where he knows he just said something that's going to cause absolute chaos, and he finds the chaos itself entertaining. And chaos? Oh, chaos absolutely arrived. Within hours, clips of that moment were everywhere. ATEEZ were split. Some were like, Wooyoung, please learn to use a filter, and others were like, he's just being honest, respect it. SHINee had mixed reactions too. Some took it as a playful jab from a rival group member and clapped back with humor, while others genuinely didn't appreciate it. But here's the part that most people either missed or forgot about. San, Wooyoung's fellow ATEEZ member who was not on the broadcast but clearly saw the fallout, posted on Weverse shortly after with a very carefully worded message complimenting Stray Kids' latest comeback at the time. Was it damage control? Was it genuine? Probably a bit of both, and that's the beauty of K-pop group dynamics. What makes Wooyoung's comment so interesting from an analytical standpoint is that ATEEZ and Stray Kids actually share more musical DNA than most people realize. Both groups draw from EDM, hip-hop, and high-energy production. But there is a subtle difference. ATEEZ tends to lean more toward theatrical, orchestral, pirate concept energy with dramatic builds, while Stray Kids leans more into trap, industrial, and electronic noise. So when Wooyoung says, "My head hurts," he's not saying the music is bad, he's identifying a specific production frequency and intensity level that differs from what his own ears are trained on. It's like two chefs who both cook Korean food, but one specializes in jjigae and the other in raw sashimi. They understand each other's craft, but wouldn't necessarily choose each other's dish for dinner. The aftermath was actually kind of beautiful, though. At a subsequent music show where both groups were promoting simultaneously, eagle-eyed fans caught Wooyoung and Stray Kids' Felix exchanging a very warm, very genuine greeting backstage. Smiles, a little handshake, even what looked like a brief chat. No tension, no awkwardness, just two professionals who exist in the same competitive space and understand that music taste comments during casual live broadcasts are just that, casual comments. Wooyoung later played other Stray Kids songs on subsequent lives and gave more balanced reactions, even admitting that Backdoor had a groove he could vibe with. Growth? Diplomacy? Genuine change of heart? Maybe all three. So at number 5, Wooyoung from ATEEZ, the friendly rival who let his honest opinion slip on live broadcast and accidentally started a fan war that burned for weeks. No malice, no hate, just pure unfiltered Wooyoung energy colliding with the unstoppable force of Stray Kids' production style. But listen, if you think a casual live broadcast comment was wild, number 4 is on a completely different level, because this next idol didn't just comment on the music. This person broke down exactly why they think Stray Kids' production approach is too much, and they did it with the authority of someone who actually knows music inside and out. Who is it? Let's go. Number 4. SHINee, the industry veteran who broke it down like a professor. Alright, now we're entering the top half of this list and things are getting serious, because at number 4 we have someone who isn't just an idol, he's a living legend, a fashion icon, a variety show king, and arguably one of the most musically intelligent individuals to ever grace the K-pop stage. We're talking about Kim Ki-bum, better known as Ki from SHINee, the second-generation titan who has seen everything this industry has to offer over the past 17+ years, and who has absolutely zero problem telling you exactly what he thinks about any song, any concept, any production style, at any time, in front of any camera. If Chongsub at number 7 was a vocal purist who simply made a face, Ki is the idol who will sit you down, look you dead in the eyes, and explain in precise, almost academic detail exactly why a certain type of music doesn't resonate with him. And that's exactly what he did. Now let's talk about SHINee for a second, because this context is everything. SHINee debuted in 2008 under SM Entertainment, and they are universally regarded as one of the most influential groups in K-pop history. They pioneered the contemporary concept, yes, SM literally used that phrase, and their discography reads like a masterclass in pop music evolution. From Replay to Lucifer to View to Don't Call Me, SHINee has consistently pushed musical boundaries while maintaining an obsessive level of polish, sophistication, and sonic clarity in their production. Every instrument has its place. Every vocal layer is intentional, every beat is calibrated to perfection. That's the SM house sound, and Ki has internalized it to his bones. He grew up in a system where producers like Young Jin, Kenzie, and international hitmakers spent months perfecting a single track before it ever reached the public. So when Ki encounters music that operates on a fundamentally different production philosophy, and let's be real, Stray Kids self-produced, raw, aggressive, we made this in our studio and it sounds exactly how we feel. Approach is the polar opposite of SM's polished machine. His reaction isn't just emotional, it's analytical. The moment that put Ki on this list happened during an episode of a Korean talk show where the topic of fourth-generation music trends came up. Ki, being the senior idol on the panel, was asked about his thoughts on the current state of K-pop and specifically about the trend of self-producing idol groups. And Ki, in the most Ki fashion possible, gave an answer that was simultaneously complimentary and critical. He acknowledged that self-producing groups like Stray Kids deserve enormous respect because creating your own music as an idol is incredibly difficult. You're performing, touring, doing variety shows, and writing and producing on top of all that. He called it admirable and a trend that's good for the industry. And this is where the internet collectively held its breath. He then added that sometimes when he listens to certain fourth-gen tracks, he feels like the production is too dense, that there are too many layers competing for attention, and that the mixing style prioritizes impact over clarity. He didn't name Stray Kids directly in that specific sentence, but the hosts pushed him a little further, played a brief snippet of Maniac, and asked if that was the kind of production he was referring to. He paused, and if you know Key, you know his pauses are legendary because they mean he's choosing his words very carefully, and then said something like, "This is a song made by talented people who know exactly what they want to express. I can hear the intention behind every element. But for my personal ear, I prefer when I can isolate each sound and appreciate it individually rather than receiving everything at once." That, ladies and gentlemen, is the most diplomatically devastating music critique in K-pop history. He essentially said, "It's brilliant, but it overwhelms me in the politest way humanly possible," and both Stays and SHINee's fandom knew exactly what he meant. The internet reaction was wild but surprisingly mature. Most Stays actually respected the critique because it came from a place of genuine musical knowledge, not ignorance or jealousy. Several music production YouTubers even made videos analyzing Key's comments, comparing SHINee's mixing philosophy with Stray Kids' approach, and honestly, both sides had valid points. SHINee's music is like a perfectly arranged orchestra where every instrument has space to breathe. Stray Kids' music is like a controlled explosion where the impact of everything hitting simultaneously is the point. Neither approach is superior, they're just different schools of thought in music production. What made this even more compelling is that Bangchan, Stray Kids' leader, actually addressed production criticism in general during one of his late-night Chan's Room live broadcasts around the same time. Without naming Key or anyone specific, Chan talked about how 3RACHA intentionally layers their production heavily because they want listeners to discover new elements with every replay. "We want people to hear something new the 10th time they listen," Chan said, and that philosophy directly contrasts with Key's preference for immediate sonic clarity. Two valid philosophies, two brilliant artists, one fundamental disagreement about how music should reach the listener's ears. And here's the beautiful kicker, Key and Bangchan actually share a deep connection through SM and JYP's long intertwined history in the industry, and multiple insiders have noted that there's genuine mutual respect between SHINee and Stray Kids as groups. Key has even been spotted casually vibing to other fourth-gen tracks at award shows, proving that his critique is specifically about production density, not about the generation itself. So number 4. Key from SHINee, the industry professor who didn't just say, "I don't like it," but pulled out an entire lecture on why, delivered it with surgical precision, and somehow made both sides nod in agreement. That's the power of a veteran who's earned his opinion through nearly 2 decades of excellence. But if you thought Key's analytical breakdown was the peak of this list, you're not ready for number 3, because the next idol didn't just critique the music on some talk show. This person had a moment so raw, so unscripted, and so unexpectedly emotional that it completely changed how fans viewed the whole noise music conversation. Who is it? Let's find out. Number 3. Solar, MAMAMOO, the vocal queen whose honest moment hit different. Okay, we are now in the top 3, and I need you to really lock in because number 3 isn't just another "idol made a funny face" story. This one carries weight, this one carries emotion. And this one sparked a conversation that went way beyond just Stray Kids and touched on something deeply personal about what music means to different artists. We're talking about Kim Young-sun, better known as Solar, the leader and main vocalist of MAMAMOO, a group that has dominated the K-pop landscape since 2014 with a musical identity so powerful, so rooted in raw vocal ability, that they've earned the title of the greatest vocal group of the 3rd generation, and some would argue of all generations. Now if you know MAMAMOO, you know that this group is built different. In an industry where most groups rely on choreography, visual concepts, and heavy production to sell their music, MAMAMOO walked into every stage with nothing but 4 microphones and 4 voices that could shake a building to its foundation. Solar, Moonbyul, Ween, and Wasa built their reputation on live singing, not lip-syncing, not backing tracks, live singing, and Solar in particular became known as someone whose vocal power could literally silence a room. She's the kind of singer who doesn't need effects, doesn't need auto-tune, doesn't need layered production to move you. She opens her mouth and your soul leaves your body. That's Solar. That's her entire artistic existence. So when this woman has something to say about music that leans heavily on production over vocals, people listen, not because she's being hateful, but because she's speaking from a place of deep, almost spiritual connection to the human voice as an instrument. The moment that landed Solar on this list happened during her YouTube channel, Solarcito, which has become one of the most popular idol-run channels in K-pop with millions of subscribers. Solar is known for doing reaction content, challenge videos, and candid vlogs where she shares her unfiltered thoughts on various topics. During one particular episode, a music reaction segment where she was listening to trending K-pop songs and giving her real-time thoughts, Stray Kids' Thunderous came up in the queue. And what happened next wasn't dramatic, wasn't explosive, wasn't scandalous. It was quiet, it was thoughtful, and somehow that made it hit 1,000 times harder than any loud reaction ever could. Solar listened to the first 30 seconds with a neutral expression, nodding slightly, clearly trying to absorb and appreciate what she was hearing. Then the drop hit, that massive, bone-rattling drop that Thunderous is famous for, and Solar paused the track. She didn't flinch like Mayan, she didn't make a face like Chongsub. She just paused it. And then she said something that fans have dissected endlessly. Translated roughly, she said, "I can feel how much passion went into creating this. The energy is incredible and I understand why young fans love this so much. But when I listen to music like this, I feel like I'm searching for the voice. I want to hear the voice, and in songs like this, the voice becomes one of many instruments instead of the instrument." And for me, it makes me a little sad, honestly. That word, sad. She used the word sad. Not angry, not annoyed, not dismissive, sad. And that single word choice turned what could have been just another "idol doesn't vibe with Stray Kids" moment into something profoundly deeper. Solar wasn't criticizing 3RACHA's production ability. She wasn't saying the song was bad. She was expressing genuine emotional grief over what she perceives as the diminishing role of the human voice in modern K-pop production. For someone who has dedicated her entire life to vocal excellence, hearing music where the voice is intentionally buried under layers of electronic production doesn't just sound wrong to her, it feels wrong on an existential level. It's like asking a master painter how they feel about AI-generated art. Even if the AI art is impressive, there's a sadness in watching the human element become secondary. That's what Solar was expressing, and it resonated with millions of people. The comment section on that video became one of the most thoughtful music discussions in K-pop YouTube history. Vocal enthusiasts poured in with essays about the importance of preserving vocal-centric music. Production enthusiasts countered with equally passionate arguments about how Stray Kids' approach represents the evolution of music where vocals, beats, and effects work as equal partners rather than a hierarchy. Neither side was wrong. Both sides were speaking from genuine love for music, just different visions of what music should prioritize. What made this even more poignant is MAMAMOO's own journey. As the K-pop industry has shifted toward fourth-gen production styles, even MAMAMOO has had to adapt. Their later releases incorporated more electronic elements, more production-heavy arrangements, and Solar has been candid about the tension between staying true to their vocal identity and evolving with industry trends. So her reaction to Stray Kids' music wasn't just about Stray Kids, it was about her own fears for the future of vocal-driven K-pop. Her own struggle to remain relevant in an industry that increasingly values production spectacle over vocal purity. That vulnerability, that honesty, is why Solar's moment hit differently than everyone else on this list. Stray Kids fans, to their credit, largely responded with empathy. Many stays pointed out that songs like Levanter, Grow Up, and Secret Secret showcase the members' vocal abilities beautifully, proving that Stray Kids can do vocal-focused music. They simply choose to lead with production intensity as their artistic signature. Some fans even created mashup playlists of MAMAMOO and Stray Kids songs to show that both styles can coexist and complement each other. The internet being wholesome for once? Rare but beautiful. So at number 3, Solar from MAMAMOO, the vocal queen whose quiet sadness spoke louder than any angry critique ever could, and who accidentally started the most meaningful conversation about vocals versus production in modern K-pop history. Not a hater, not a critic, an artist mourning a musical era she loves while watching a new one rise. Now if that didn't give you chills, I don't know what will. But brace yourself, number 2 is coming, and this one involves an idol from a group so close to Stray Kids in every possible way that the moment felt almost like a betrayal to some fans. Same company history, same generation, same award show stages, and yet, this idol's honest moment created a shockwave that nobody saw coming. Who is it? You already feel it, don't you? Let's go. Number 2. Soobin, TXT, the gentle giant whose slip-up shook the 4th generation. We're at number 2, and I am telling you right now, this one hurt. Not because it was mean, not because it was disrespectful, but because of who said it, when they said it, and the absolute chaos that followed. We're talking about Choi Soobin, the leader of Tomorrow X Together, TXT, the tall, soft-spoken, endlessly lovable giant who is famous for being one of the kindest, most gentle souls in all of 4th generation K-pop, and the last person anyone would ever expect to end up on a list like this. And yet here he is at number 2, because sometimes the quietest voices create the loudest echoes. Now let me set this up properly, because the context here is what turns this from a simple moment into an absolute earthquake. TXT and Stray Kids are not just contemporaries, they are the two groups that arguably define the split in 4th generation musical identity. TXT, under HYBE, formerly Big Hit, represents the dreamier, more ethereal, emotionally introspective side of 4th gen K-pop. Their music, tracks like 0x1 = Love Sang, Anti-Romantic, Sugar Rush Ride, and Chasing That Feeling, lives in a world of indie pop influences, shoegaze textures, coming-of-age narratives, and production that feels like watching a sunset through a rain-streaked window. It's beautiful, it's melancholic, it's delicate. Stray Kids, on the other hand, is the thunderstorm outside that window. Same generation, same era, completely opposite sonic universes. And Soobin? Soobin is the human embodiment of TXT's musical DNA. This man's personal playlist is reportedly filled with Radiohead, the 1975, Troye Sivan, and Japanese city pop. He's spoken multiple times about how he connects with music that makes him feel floaty and contemplative. He likes songs that give you space to think, space to breathe, space to feel quietly. So you can already see where this is going, right? The moment happened during a joint MC stint. Soobin served as an MC on a major music show for an extended period, which meant he was present for dozens of group performances and had to interact with various songs and stages week after week. During one particular broadcast week, Stray Kids was promoting. Sources vary on whether it was during the Maniac era or the S-Class era, but the aftermath was the same regardless. After the live broadcast ended, there was a behind-the-scenes segment, the kind of casual wrap-up content that music shows release on their YouTube channels. Soobin was chatting with the staff and co-MCs, still in that relaxed post-show energy where guards are down and people speak more freely. And in the middle of casual conversation about the day's performances, Soobin said something that was barely above a whisper, but was picked up crystal clear by the still rolling cameras. Translated as closely as possible, he said, "Today's lineup was really intense. Some stages, the energy is so strong that I need to mentally prepare myself before watching from the side. My ears need recovery time." He said it with a small, almost apologetic laugh, and he didn't mention any group by name. But here's the problem. The broadcast schedule that day was public. Fans knew exactly which groups performed, and Stray Kids had just delivered one of their characteristically explosive stages, literally minutes before that comment was made. The math wasn't hard. ATEEZ, TXT's fandom, and Stays connected the dots almost simultaneously, and what followed was one of the most intense inter-fandom discussions in recent memory. Now here's what made this so much more painful than the other entries on this list. Soobin and Stray Kids members actually have a good relationship. There are countless moments of Soobin interacting warmly with Bangchan, Felix, and Hyunjin at various award shows and music programs. The mutual respect between TXT and Stray Kids as groups has been well documented. So when Soobin's comment surfaced, it didn't feel like an attack from an enemy. It felt like an honest admission from a friend, and somehow that stung more for some stays. It's one thing when a random idol from a completely different world says your music is too much. It's another thing entirely when someone from your own generation, someone you share stages with, someone your members have hugged and laughed with backstage, quietly admits that your music is physically overwhelming for them. The fandom dynamics got messy fast. Some stays argued that Soobin's comment was taken out of context and could have referred to any high-energy stage that day. Some MAs rushed to defend Soobin by pointing out that he has sensory sensitivities and has mentioned before that he gets overwhelmed by loud environments in general. It's not a Stray Kids thing, it's a Soobin thing. And honestly, that defense holds a lot of weight. Soobin has talked on multiple occasions about preferring quiet environments, about needing alone time to decompress after busy schedules, about being someone who processes the world in a softer, more internalized way. An idol like that standing side stage while Stray Kids delivers a performance that registers on the Richter scale? Of course his ears need recovery time. That's not shade, that's sensory reality. What made this even more nuanced is the broader conversation it sparked about fourth-generation diversity. K-pop analysts and journalists actually picked up on the moment and used it to write thoughtful pieces about how the fourth generation is not a monolith. TXT and Stray Kids prove that the same generation can produce wildly different artistic visions, and the tension between those visions isn't conflict, it's healthy creative diversity. You need groups like TXT who make music that sounds like a whispered confession at 3 a.m., and you need groups like Stray Kids who make music that sounds like kicking down the door at 3 a.m. The spectrum is what makes fourth-gen K-pop the most exciting era in the genre's history. Soobin, for his part, seemed to become extra careful about his words in subsequent broadcasts, which honestly made fans feel a little bad. Several MOAs and even some stays posted messages saying they didn't want Soobin to feel like he couldn't be honest, that his authenticity is one of his most beloved qualities, and that policing an idol's genuine reactions to music is unhealthy for everyone involved. A few weeks later, eagle-eyed fans noticed Soobin gently bobbing his head during a Stray Kids stage on the music show. Whether it was a genuine vibe moment or a conscious effort to show support, nobody knows for sure. But MOAs and stays both chose to take it as a peace offering, and honestly, that's beautiful. So at number 2, Soobin from TXT, the gentle giant whose whispered confession backstage accidentally ripped open the fourth generation's most sensitive nerve. Not a hater, not even close, just a soft soul in a loud world trying to navigate the beautiful chaos of an industry that contains both whispered sunsets and sonic thunderstorms. His honesty didn't destroy anything. It actually reminded everyone that it's okay to have different ears, different hearts, different ways of experiencing music. But now, number 1. The big one. The name that's been hanging over this entire list like a storm cloud. If you've been paying attention, if you know your K-pop history, if you understand which idol in this industry has made a career out of saying exactly what's on their mind regardless of consequences, you might already know who it is. But trust me, even if you guess the name, you have no idea what they actually said and did. This one is legendary. Are you ready? Let's finish this. Number 1. I-DLE, Super Junior, the king of brutal honesty who turned it into a full segment. Here it is. The moment you've been waiting for. The name that has been lurking in the shadows of this entire list like the final boss of a video game you thought you were ready for, but you're absolutely not. At number 1. Sitting comfortably on the throne of unfiltered honesty, wearing the crown of I will say what everyone is thinking, but nobody has the guts to actually say, we have the one, the only, the legendary, the iconic, Kim I-DLE from Super Junior. And if you know anything about this man, you already knew he was going to be here. You felt it in your bones from the moment you clicked on this video. Because in the entire history of K-pop, and we're talking about an industry that spans over 3 decades, there has never been an idol who has less filter, less fear, and less hesitation about sharing his honest opinions than Kim I-DLE. This man has built a second career entirely on being the most brutally honest celebrity in South Korean entertainment, and he has done it so consistently, so charmingly. and so intelligently that even the people he roasts end up thanking him for it. Now let's establish just how legendary Heechul's status is before we get into what happened, because you need to understand the sheer gravitational pull of this man's words. Super Junior debuted in 2005 under SM Entertainment. They are not just a K-pop group, they're the group that arguably created the global K-pop expansion model. They pioneered the large group format. They broke into markets that no Korean act had ever touched. They sold out arenas across Asia, South America, and the Middle East before most current fans were even born. Heechul, within that legendary group, carved out a unique position. He wasn't the strongest vocalist, he wasn't the most powerful dancer, but he was the personality. The man who could walk onto any variety show set and own it within 30 seconds. He became a permanent cast member on some of Korea's highest-rated programs, including Knowing Brothers, Ask Us Anything, where he sits behind a school desk and absolutely dismantles guests with his wit, humor, and terrifyingly accurate observations. So when Heechul talks about music, any music, the entire Korean entertainment industry listens. Not because he's always right, but because he's always real. And the moment that earned him the #1 spot on this list? It didn't happen in some quiet, behind-the-scenes clip. It didn't happen in a whispered backstage comment. No, Heechul did this on national television, in front of millions of viewers, and he turned it into an entire segment that lasted several minutes and had the studio audience gasping, laughing, and applauding simultaneously. It happened on Knowing Brothers, where else? During an episode where the conversation naturally drifted toward current music trends and fourth-generation K-pop. The other cast members were giving the usual safe, diplomatic answers. Oh, today's music is great. Young idols are so talented. The standard veteran idol PR responses. And then the camera cut to Heechul, and everyone in that studio knew that something was about to happen. Heechul leaned forward with that signature smirk, the one that has preceded some of the most iconic moments in Korean variety show history, and he said something along the lines of, "Can I be honest? Like, actually honest? Not TV honest, but real honest." The studio audience immediately started buzzing because they recognized that tone. That's the Heechul, "I'm about to set this building on fire" tone. And then he launched into it. He said he respects fourth-generation groups enormously, that their work ethic is incredible, that the level of performance has reached heights that his generation couldn't have imagined. But then, and this is where the entire internet collectively lost its mind, he said, "But there are some songs where I genuinely cannot tell when the verse ends and the chorus begins. I played a Stray Kids song in my car last week. I think it was Maniac or maybe Venom. They kind of blend together for me, honestly, and my friend in the passenger seat asked me if my speakers were broken." He said that on national TV, with that grin on his face. The studio erupted. The other cast members were doing that classic Korean variety reaction where they're half laughing, half covering their mouths in shock. Samja, the show's staff character, literally fell off his chair. Even the PDs behind the cameras could be heard losing it. But Heechul wasn't done. Oh no, Kim Heechul doesn't drop one bomb and walk away. He doubles down. He always doubles down. He continued by pulling out his actual phone, his real phone, not a prop, and said he'd prove his point. He played what fans later identified as the opening of Thunderous through the studio speakers, let it run for about 20 seconds, then paused it and turned to the camera with this look of genuine bewilderment and said, "Okay, I have a real question. Am I supposed to headbang to this? Am I supposed to dance? Am I supposed to meditate? What is the intended physical response to this song? Because my body doesn't know what to do. My body is confused." And at that point, the studio was in absolute chaos. Cast members were crying with laughter. The audience was clapping. Even the subtitles on the broadcast had those shaking text effects that Korean shows use when something is peak comedy. But here's the genius of Heechul, and this is why he's #1 and not just another idol with a hot take. Alright, so we just went through the entire list, all 7 names, all 7 stories, all 7 moments of pure, unfiltered honesty, and now it's time to step back and ask ourselves, what does this list actually tell us about K-pop, about Stray Kids, and about music itself? Because if you think this was just a list about idols who don't like certain songs, you missed the entire point. Let's break it down. First, Stray Kids' music is polarizing by design, and that's their greatest strength. Every single idol on this list acknowledged, in their own way, that Stray Kids' music provokes a strong reaction. Whether it's Changsub's involuntary face, Mayan's flinch, Wooyoung's headache comment, Key's production analysis, Solar's emotional sadness, Subin's whispered confession, or Heechel's full comedy segment. The common thread is that Stray Kids' music does not allow you to be neutral. You either love it or you struggle with it, and in an industry where most groups aim to be as universally palatable as possible, Stray Kids' willingness to make music that challenges the listener is genuinely revolutionary. Second, none of these idols actually hate Stray Kids. Read that again. Not a single person on this list expressed personal dislike toward the members or the group itself. Every single critique was about sound, about production density, sonic intensity, mixing philosophy, and sensory preference. The members of Stray Kids are universally respected in the industry for their work ethic, their self-producing ability, and their genuine kindness. This list is proof that you can disagree with someone's art without disrespecting the artist, and K-pop desperately needs more of that energy. Third, the noise music debate is actually the oldest debate in music history wearing a new outfit. Heechul nailed it in his Knowing Brothers segment. Every generation's music sounds like noise to the generation before it. Jazz was noise to classical fans. Rock was noise to jazz fans. Hip-hop was noise to rock fans. Electronic music was noise to hip-hop purists. And now Stray Kids' genre blending, production-heavy style is noise to vocalists and melodic purists. This isn't a K-pop problem, it's a music problem, and it's actually not even a problem at all. It's evolution. It's how art moves forward. The discomfort that these idols feel when listening to Stray Kids is the exact same discomfort that drives innovation. Fourth, music taste is subjective, and that's beautiful. We need artists like Solar who fight for the human voice. We need artists like Key who demand sonic clarity. We need artists like Subin who create music that sounds like whispered dreams. And we need artists like Stray Kids who build sonic earthquakes that reshape what K-pop can be. The spectrum isn't a battlefield, it's a garden, and every flower has its place. And finally, Stray Kids' response to all of this has been nothing short of legendary. They haven't changed their sound to please critics. They haven't fired back at anyone. They haven't played the victim. They've simply continued making exactly the music they want to make, exactly the way they want to make it, and their global success, stadium tours, Billboard records, millions of albums sold, speaks louder than any critique ever could. Bang Chan said it best, that confusion is the experience. So the next time someone tells you they don't like Stray Kids' music, don't get angry. Smile. Because the fact that their music provokes such strong, genuine, emotional reactions from the most respected artists in the industry, that's not a weakness. That's the ultimate proof that Stray Kids is making music that matters. And music that matters has never been universally loved, it's always been universally felt. That's your top 7. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying until the end, and if this video made you think, made you laugh, or made you appreciate the beautiful chaos of K-pop's musical diversity, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which moment on this list surprised you the most. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.